Parliamentarians for the Youth is a program undertaken by the Organization for Youth, Education and Development and the Inter-Parliamentary Alliance for Human Rights and Global Peace.
In the contract.
It's not just me saying it. I've got a greeting about a bottle of red wine.
A different SME.
Europe's
King observations.
The Parliamentarians for the Youth program aims to increase parliamentary involvement in youth-related issues, as well as increasing youth involvement within parliaments, by bringing together young people and parliamentarians from across the world to work together to promote solutions to global youth issues.
I trust in a Europe where my rights are going to be respected and represented in Brussels.
Establishing the office of Youth Ombudsman in the European Union is extremely important. To have reference institutions in their national countries, but also in the European level through ombudsman mechanisms.
It's important how we will position this kind of ombudsman with the actual ombudsman, and what will be what will be their capacity, what will be their connection, what will be so it's to be discussed about.
The best way is for them, for the young people, to stand by their rights.
I trust in a Europe where the main investment is education for everyone.
Investment in education is really vital.
Education should be a priority, and priority means allocation of money.
Set a minimum percentage of GDP within the EU as expenditure on education.
It's not a goal in itself. It serves to the young people to make careers.
To facilitate access for young people, in particular to the educational and the training sector.
And it's crucial that we bridge the gap between education and employment.
It means making sure that there's a correct relationship between education on the one hand and the business community on the other. And it means making sure that young people have the training and the skills to equip them effectively to enter the world of work.
Improve education to suit the needs of society without going so far as to say that we all come the kind of technical schools where we just produce people that are fit for a specific job.
Without a job, and you're talking about empowerment, that's a nonsense. We need to make sure that people get jobs after they leave universities, and then we can talk about them using their power to change the way society is run or developed.
I trust in a Europe where there are no differences between men and women.
One of the key points probably that the young women understand if they want to actively participate later in their life, in public life, in political life, in social life.
The young women should get a very good education. They should not hesitate to make their career.
Women's participation on the labour market must increase. The employment rates for women are much lower than those for men all over EU, and we need gender equality in all different areas.
It is not right that women are not equally paid, have to do more of the care, that have less opportunity in politics.
Women are the other half of the population, and their voices need to be heard.
Europe should also lead on this. There cannot be this difference anymore, the gender inequality and discriminations.
I trust in a Europe which recognizes the creativity of the young entrepreneurs.
I think it is important that we stimulate young people to be more entrepreneurs. We have a lot of young people in Europe that go to universities, colleges, but at the end there's only less than 4% that at the end really wants to become an entrepreneur.
I think that it is very important to promote this entrepreneurship, to help them to organize this, to provide them with proper education and information how to do that.
There is a tremendous important role for governments, for universities and colleges, for the private sector, to combine forces and to make sure that the generations of tomorrow are trained by the young students who come out of our schools today and really are having the appetite, I would say, to be entrepreneurs.
Could really be an added value is to listen to them, to talk to them, to those who have started up something or would like to start up something, what they think is a priority.
Seth Godin once said, opportunities are there to be created.
When you're young, you can sometimes do things that us old people know are impossible, because you don't know it's impossible, and therefore you try it, and actually you might be the first person to do it.
And that's exactly what it is about. There's a lot of opportunities which we want to create ourselves, and if we create them, it will be an asset for the future.
I believe in a Europe that provides better public services for young people.
It is absolutely crucial, as in the broader spectrum, for all of our youth, that they have access to good education.
Governmental networks to support every stage of the youth, and also the education, the job creation and support system, and all social safety networks, and also future-oriented innovation communities should be all incorporated into the whole framework.
And that they can develop themselves beyond the age of 18 in the areas that they feel are important and significant for their lives. And thereby we actually help everyone to contribute positively to our society.
Youth can enjoy and also benefit what the whole system can provide for them in finding their rightful places and rightful moment, and also good way of communicating with each and every suitable counterparts.
Countries, governments, the European Union, Mexico, have to work together in a more global way to make sure that they have this new space and they have these opportunities to prepare themselves to be empowered.
Looking at the situation in many countries in Southern Europe where the youth unemployment rate is 60%, I think that clearly underlines the need for more European youth policies, not only individual member countries trying to tackle the challenges the youth face today alone, but rather working more together to help the youth.
I trust in a European movement to exchange ideas and work skills.
Young leaders, or the future young leaders, are joining networks to learn to know each other better, because that reduces what I would call a tendency which human beings always have, or groups of human beings always have, namely a tendency to look towards oneself.
Vis-à-vis, face-to-face is always important. Networking specifically, we fund in Creative Europe, we fund networking among peers, peer-to-peer learning.
Young people have on their hands a lot of time and a lot of curiosity. They have a lot to contribute in helping to develop society.
Creating spaces for them to have networks and exchanges with young people from other parts of the world is only enriching one. It should be seen as a very, very strategic decision for governments.
In Europe, we don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. There are experiences and there is knowledge out there, and we just have to get the right people together to connect them, to exchange this.
It seems to me necessary for us to nurture and treasure the eccentricities, the ambitions, the voice of young people.
By a network, let's say, even forced to learn to know each other better, and by this we build the further European integration from the grassroots, from the ground.
I want to be proud to say I'm European, and that to be part of my identity.
Europe is about very important contradictions, and those contradictions are part of our identity.
Well, national identity and European identity, they are dynamic concepts. They evolve. They have to be shaped, and they are shaped one way or another, whether willingly or unwillingly, through human intercourse and interaction.
We all remain who we are, rooted in our local community, in our regional context, in our national context. But on top of that, I think indeed there's something like a European identity.
I see no conflict between national identity and European identity. I feel perfectly fine as a Bulgarian and as a European at the same time.
But it doesn't substitute itself to the others. I would never ever say we should have only a European identity.
We're surprised to think the long years that something in country X is unique, and then you go further south, north, left, and then you discover very similar rituals, customs, dances, expressions. It's all about being human at the heart of it.
But it's very important to understand that some European sources, they are our objects of admiration and bitterness. We could be laid down, we could be sometimes brought down by them, we could be disappointed, disenchanted, but at the same time we could be amazingly inspired. This is Europe.
It's time for young people like me to be more active and present in political activity.
I think young people should be involved at all levels of democracy.
They are citizens like others and they are living in these communities, and of course they should have a right to participate also in everyday political life.
Promoting democratic participation is important, but I think it's unlikely that it will take place through the traditional channels, which has been, at least in Western democracies.
I believe strongly that any kind of communication, any kind of debate, it will strengthen the capacities of the actual generation.
To vote, for example, using their mobile device, which you can't do, for example, in the UK at the moment, but people can make, quite significant financial transactions via their mobile phone or tablet. It seems to me not obvious why you couldn't extend that to voting as well.
Listen to youth first and to see what their concerns are. And in order to be able to voice their concern, they have to be empowered.
By working together, young people and parliamentarians can promote the interests of youth worldwide and advance the situation of young people.
Very important concept there, and you see it all over the place when you see youth.
They have a lot of things to say because they think about a lot of different things and they look at things in very different ways.
To find creativity. If creativity is actually the start of a lot of new ideas, and if you start to make the youth interesting in creativity, to create themselves and not just following what's being presented, they will develop things in themselves.
Really empowering itself, it mostly comes through subcultures which have certain art pieces or art orientations attached to them.
The language of art changes all the time. So to keep up with this language, you should try to understand what they're saying, and you should try to learn this language.
We're talking about respecting young people, taking their views on board and acting on them, not talking down to them, talking on the same level with them, listening to them, giving them respect and dignity and acting on what they have.
It's a matter of black people standing up and saying, we are citizens too, we demand a parity of status, we demand to be heard, we demand a voice in the public political process.
Young people are disengaged from the political machine. That is why, because we're not listening to them properly in a proper manner and giving them the respect that they deserve and acting on their proper wishes.
Join and support our initiative, European Parliamentarians for the Youth, to promote greater opportunities for the European youth of these days.